Ready?
Okay. Let's do it.
What happened here?
Uh-oh. Good eye.
I need to start again. I can't even say platform.
It's hard to look at.
Welcome, Maddie.
Bigger.
Welcome to Platform X. I'm with Maddie today. Hi, Maddie.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming and helping me with everything.
I'm happy to be part of this amazing project.
Amazing. Thank you. Can't wait to see what we do.
Yes.
Maddie, tell me about your journey and how did you get into Australia and last few years?
Well, it's been quite a journey. I was born in Saudi Arabia, stayed there till 7th grade, and then we moved to Jordan. And I stayed there until 2023, and then I moved to Australia. So in September 2025, it would be 2 years since I've been here.
How was the last 2 years?
Oh, it's been a crazy journey. Like you can imagine, like I've never lived out of the Middle East. So this is, wait, is the mic working?
I think so. It should be working. Yes.
So I'll just continue.
Yeah.
So you can imagine like 2 years, it's been like almost 2 years. It's been quite a journey. I never lived out of the Middle East.
Yeah.
But I've been always open to exploring, always getting myself out of my comfort zone and putting myself out there. And it's been amazing.
Yeah. Was it different living in Melbourne compared to where you lived before?
It is quite a lot. Like there's a big difference. To start with, I still have the same mentality of like, just being open, get yourself out of your comfort zone and everything will fall into place. But it was quite overwhelming because you can imagine the cultural differences and everything, like, especially around queer spaces. To start with, it was because I didn't know anyone. I felt overwhelmed. And I actually remember the first time I went to the Laird, I went to an underwear party. So I was alone in my underwear, not talking to anybody. It was quite the experience, but now it's like the amount of change that happened. I'm more comfortable with, everything.
Yeah. You know everyone now. Everyone knows you. Your face is there, like on social media and like on our campaigns and everything. But how did you get into that? Like from not having any friends or not knowing anyone 2 years ago, and now you know a lot of people. The other day when we went to one of these events, you knew more people than me. How did you get there?
Again, like I will pin it down to getting yourself out of your comfort zone. When I moved to Melbourne, I didn't know a soul, not even one person. But I wanted that because I wanted to challenge myself and I wanted to prove to myself that I can do it.
Yeah.
So to start with, it's funny how the cookie crumbles, as they say. Like I went to an event by mistake. Like I wasn't even invited.
Yeah.
It was a queer meetup, but it was only for people who work in technology. And I saw queer meetup.
Do you work in technology?
But I saw queer and I saw meetup. I was like, sign me up. I went there and then I found out that it was actually like a private event. And I was like, oops. Anyway, then when I was there, I met somebody and they told me about Thorn Harbour and I didn't even know what Thorn Harbour was.
Yeah.
And they even told me like, oh, there's a Pride Center in Melbourne. And I was like, what do you mean center? Like, it's not just an office. It's a whole building. I was surprised that there's like a lot of queer spaces in Melbourne, and I really like that. Anyway, so I moved here at end of August. End of September, I already signed up with Thorn Harbour. And from Thorn Harbour, like I met so many people, and then you know how like you meet someone and they introduce you to someone else, and then that's how it is. And you just like have to keep going. And to start with, experimenting, like you start with, say yes to everything, and then pick the things that you like and you enjoy.
Did you ever have a time that you did something like, went somewhere and you regretted or you thought that, you felt overwhelmed or?
Never. I don't have any regrets. Everything I did with that was really good. Yes, there were some moments where I didn't feel comfortable. And I will pin it down to, I was having this conversation with a friend of mine. Like when you meet people, especially in a new space, sometimes you can feel like they might be standoffish a little bit. But it all, like, we pinned it down to, this is our opinion. it all goes down to social skills. Like some people can be shy, reserved, but once you get to know them, they're lovely. And now that I'm a little bit more into the community, people have been lovely. They're amazing. They accepted me. They took me in, and I'm very blessed.
I'm very happy to hear that. You talk about volunteering and Thorn Harbour, volunteering at Thorn Harbour, which I love, and my sort of getting to know a community or doing things and getting to know people is volunteering wherever I am. How about volunteering for you? And were you doing that before you moved into Australia as well? Or did you just start after coming here? How was that?
When I was in Jordan, like you can imagine, being queer is not illegal, but it's very frowned upon. And the society can be a bit religious. So it was hard for me to open myself up. And in a way, I was like the only person who was standing in my own way because I couldn't be myself. So I couldn't really do much.
Yeah.
So I made a promise to myself, when I move to a country where I can be myself, I will be the only person who will be standing in my way. So I always put myself out there, and I promise, like, wherever I go, if the community accepts me, I'm gonna give them as much as I can. So that's why this. Like, if whenever I hear the word volunteer, I always jump in. I always love to help, and it is a great way to meet people. It is a great way to blend into the community, and it's just from there you take off.
Yeah, I think one of the things I learned from you is that you keep trying and putting yourself out there, even though it might not be something that you have done before. There's new opportunities, new things to do. You put yourself out there and experience it, and through that you make new friends and new people. And some of the people you might not have the best experience the first time, but if you give some time, things can develop. Is that right?
Correct. Like you get to know them, and also, like, another thing that I like about Melbourne is there's something for everyone.
Yeah.
Like, whatever you're into, whatever you like, you can find your community. It's all about you just putting yourself out there and trying things.
Yeah. Now, I grew up in Sri Lanka and lived most of my life there. Sometimes I felt when I moved to Melbourne, especially, there's too many things going on, which I'm not used to, or which I wasn't sort of used to living a life like that. So sometimes it can be overwhelming, and I learned how to navigate through that. But was that the same experience for you?
I'm still learning how to navigate all of it. It can be a bit too much because, again, like in Jordan, the resources are limited, the options are very limited. So coming here, the options and the choices are limitless.
Yeah.
There's everything, and there's so many things happening all the time.
There's something every weekend.
There's something, like, there's 5 things every weekend. So it's something you learn with time.
Yeah.
You just learn how to, again, like, you try things, you're like, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. You learn when to say no, you learn when to say yes.
Yeah.
And take it one step at a time.
Yeah.
And you'll always be learning. Like, you'll never stop learning.
Yeah. I like what you said. You have to learn how to say no to things as well, so you know your limits. You can put yourself out there, but you need to learn how to say no to things as well, so you can have some time to reflect and for yourself.
And you have to, like, to re-energize yourself and, like, unwind, so you can have, recharge your battery, so you can give back.
Yeah. If you're happy, I'm curious to know about life in Jordan and life in Melbourne. What are the biggest things? You mentioned this before, but I'm curious to explore more. What do you feel when you wake up in the morning, living in Melbourne and in Australia, and having people around now, and having so many opportunities to do anything you want now, compared to years ago where you didn't have these options?
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
When I was in Jordan, I went through some really rough time because I wanted to explore my queerness. I wanted to be my authentic self, but I couldn't. And it was really, really hard on me. And I had a goal that by the time I hit 30, I wanted to be in Australia. I was 2 years behind.
Almost there, so yeah.
Almost there. But when I came here, sometimes, like, I walk around the streets and I'm like, I can't believe this is my life.
Yeah.
Like, I am extremely blessed and happy to be myself. And I'm very grateful that the community took me in. And like, you know, just being yourself, being your queer, authentic self, that's something really, really massive. And sometimes we take it for granted.
100%. I can resonate with that. There's a lot of the times I felt that I never had these opportunities before. Or I wasn't the same person 10 years ago, for an example.
I wasn't the same person like 2 years ago.
So I'm very grateful and blessed to have the things that I have right now.
Yeah, and growing up in a very conservative family, it wasn't easy for me to, you know, put myself out there. And, you know, because, you know, you've been conditioned to think in a certain way. You've been, you've been taught to do things a certain way. And then you have to be your own self and like make your own decisions. And that's not easy because a lot of people, they feel something on the inside, but they end up just following the social norm, you know?
Yeah. Since you got here and now you've met people, you know, you have a community, you are busy, your social life is busy. When you go out and go to these events, do you look out for new people who might be staying in a corner in a party or an event? Do you notice that now?
Yes. I mean, to start with, I didn't have much to give. So I wasn't really doing that much because I didn't know if I can provide them with anything. But sometimes just your company is good enough. And if you know people and you just meet someone new and you speak to them, like the other day, I met a new volunteer with Onhaba and he was Turkish. And I have a Turkish friend, so I was like, they have that in common. So I introduced them to each other, you know?
Yeah.
So the more you get into the community, the more resources you have, the more you can help.
Yeah. I think sharing our stories are important as well. Like, if you remember, like, you know, when we sort of spoke about our stories at Grouse, you know, during a photo shoot, in the middle of a photo shoot. I've seen you before, and you know, you might have seen me, I might have seen you. But sometimes, like, you know, having a conversation and sort of like learn, we might have very similar stories. That helps as well.
Yes. And also, we spoke about this before, is that when we do things like this and people see us on camera, they'll be like, oh, there's more people like me who exist in this world. And that's one of the reasons, it's one of the reasons that I like to be visibly queer, because when I walk down the street and people see me, they will be like, oh, I can be like this one day. You know?
Yeah. I think that's very important. Most of the time, this is what I believe. If you can't see it, you can't be it. You have to see something for you to have an aspiration.
Correct.
For most of us. So I think us being out there and being visible, it brings hope for a lot of other people as well to sort of live the life that they want to live. Maybe there are challenges right now, but if you work through it, you can get to that point at one point.
And also, do not compare your progress with other people, because other people have different circumstances. They have different chances. So do not compare yourself with them. And as cheesy as it sounds, it does get better with time. Like,
it's such a cliche, but I believe this. I believe the same, 100%. I agree. And also, we always tell ourselves, like, you know, don't compare. But, you know, that's again sounds like a cliche, but you have to really work on that. You have to have your own journey.
Yes, and also the queer community is full of love. There's so many people who will accept you. And you will go out and meet people, and you'll find your own tribe, and you will love it.
Love it, love it.
Love.
Can I get a pizza?
A pizza? No cheese?
No cheese, please.
Do you have lactose intolerance cheese?
Lactose.
Please. And a lot of eggplants. And peaches.
Eggplants and peaches, you know.
Eggplants. Do you know there's a song called Eggplants and Peaches?
No. But you wanted to talk about being your authentic for yourself. What do you want to share?
We already had this conversation before. I don't know if you remember, but I grew up in a very religious household. So I didn't see any representation of queer people or anybody that was like out about their queerness. But for some reason, and I'm really happy that that was the way. I always accepted myself, always knew that I was queer within my heart, but my only queer outlet was RuPaul's Drag Race, and seeing those drag queens being their true authentic self and not being afraid to be made fun of, and like they read each other, but it's in a safe space, and seeing them explore all sorts of their identity, that was inspiring to me, and that what inspired me to be my true authentic self, and just walk around the streets and being myself.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I can relate to some of that as well. And some of these things I didn't have exposure back there until I moved here.
And one interesting thing as well, that something I'm recently dabbling with, is I was always kind of hating my mask side, even though it's very small. But I've always hated it because of the way it was represented. And also, you were actually one of the people who encouraged me to feel safe about exploring that side of me, because I remember when I was talking to you about leather, and you were telling me that you were trying to show it in a way that it's not all about masculinity and it's what you make it, and that encouraged me to experiment with that concept.
Yeah, I'm very happy to hear that. I'm glad. And we talk about community. We talk about. Sorry, I need to go back. I said we talked about. Maddie, we talked about how you feel when you live in Australia and how you found people, your people, friends, volunteering, all these things. When we think of your people and your community, what comes to your mind? What three things comes to your mind?
A lot comes to mind, but if I have to narrow it down to three things, I would say safety. Safety is very important. If you feel safe, you will be your true authentic self. You won't worry about showing it. So safety is number one. And then support. I've had an amazing support from all my friends and people in the scene, in the queer scene. And I would say safety, support, and acceptance. Acceptance is really important, and I have been accepted by the community of all different aspects. Like as you know, the community, there's so many different aspects of it, and different groups and all of that. I have been accepted in all of them, and I'm very, very blessed.
I'm happy to hear that. Thank you so much for your time, and
Thank you for having me.
for helping me with all this as well.
Thank you for having me.
Yay!
Yay! That was good.
That was